really confused right now. Oh, there we are. Hey, Michelle.
Hi.
Hey.
It's working now.
Yeah, okay, good. Yeah, we're live. So let's start this one over.
All right, what are we going to talk about today?
Yeah, well, first of all, I just wanted to say happy Wednesday to everyone again. Not sure how that's gonna work out because I went on YouTube and then I saw there was like a 1.5-minute video there from our earlier thing. So, oh, did you really? Okay, awesome. All right, well, anyway, let's get started. So my name is Marina.
My name is Michelle.
Yeah, and we have a hobby. There's like an entire community where you can buy things that are secondhand and sell them online, and you can actually earn some cash. So, a lot of people look for second jobs. And hey, Noel, how's it going? Just want to go ahead and share the comment here. Yeah, a lot of people get second jobs to maybe help pay for debt or save money for their kids' educations. But Michelle and I ran into this hobby 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And we ended up loving it. So we've, 2 years down this October, and we're entering our 3rd year. Can you believe that, Michelle, doing this?
Wow. Yeah, it's certainly a fun journey. Also a lot of learning curves. So yes.
I love it. I mean, personally, I love every single aspect. Of course, some are more fun than others, but there's like so much. This is so much fun. By far, this has got to be the most, the funnest thing I've ever done as an adult. Honestly, hands down. And Michelle, you too?
It's fun. It's a lot of work, but it's fun.
Yeah. See, I understand it's a lot of work, but I personally, I enjoy it. I don't see it. I don't know. I like the work, if that makes sense, right? It makes me feel good, Yeah. But anyway, that's just me. You may try it and hate it. So without further ado, we're going to get started with our live though, which I guess has already been going. But what we're going to talk about today is there's actually a formula, if you will, that we wanted to talk about in order to be successful in selling things online and actually make some money out of it.
Yeah, so after 2 years, almost 3 years now of reselling, we've encountered a lot of challenges, a lot of lessons that we've learned, and we definitely want to share this with everyone, just so everyone's aware of the important things that we should do to succeed in reselling.
Yeah, but even just for if you're brand new, how's it going, Monarchs and Margaritas? Happy Wednesday to you. Yeah, but even if you're just like brand new, or even if you're not, even let's say you're 6 months in or even a year in, there may be one of the things that we're about to mention that if you're not doing it, there could be holes in your growth, right? In your profits. So we want to make sure to cover as many as possible and ensure that you don't have these issues, because when we first started, I remember it was really difficult to be successful on all the different reselling platforms, and that definitely made us very frustrated for like long periods of time, right, Michelle? Would you say was the case?
Yeah, for sure, yeah. And yeah. I remember, I know Cynthia and Lizette, they were talking about challenges. They were saying that, nothing's always going to be perfect. You're going to hit a bumpy road at times. And yeah, absolutely.
So Cynthia and Lizette are friends of ours that also do reselling. So, all right. Well, Michelle, you have full control of the slides.
Yeah, so we're going to share some tips and tools. And the first one that's really, really important for reselling is really consistency in all things, but consistent listing and relisting is important. So the thing is, if you use a cross listing platform, that's also important. But a lot of different platforms, they keep track of your activity and how your activity level as to what you're doing on the platform. If you're active there, the more active you are, the more likely that your listing will show up. Also, listing, relisting. Sometimes when you list an item and it's been sitting for a while, it goes stale. The listing goes stale, and you gotta, unlist it and then delist it and then relist the item, and it'll help boost your listing.
All right. So Michelle's talking like if you're a super seasoned reseller. Let's back it up a little bit. I actually wanted to start with the slide that says that you need to sell items that are sought after, items that are in demand. Do we have that slide, Michelle? Can we show that one?
Yes.
So let's start with that. We'll come back to the listing one. So the most important thing in the reselling formula is you need to find items that are trending, that are hot, that people are looking for. Because if you have these items, for sure you're going to make sales, right? For sure, just based on the products alone. Of course, there's all these other aspects to the formula that we're going to discuss, but for sure, you should buy things that people want. Now, if we want to get a little bit deeper in on that, you should have a variety of items. So get some that are in demand, that are hot now. So for example, today's October 21st. We usually call our series on IGTV Coffee and Questions. I have my coffee here, right? But my coffee is actually an iced pumpkin smoothie because it's that season, right? So things in season, October, November is going to be fall items, pumpkin things, those kinds of things. People are buying them. We're buying them. And, but yeah, also have things that don't necessarily sell in season, but sell throughout the year. And so, some examples of those, and they have, you can make really good money on, are things that are vintage, things that are collectible, things that are retired or out of stock, right? Those kinds of things you could sell year long, and you don't have to reduce the prices on your items.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Michelle, do you want to touch on any of this? Any thoughts on this topic?
Yeah, for sure. The more in demand the item is, the easier for you to sell. So keep in mind, if you are using eBay or Mercari, they have really amazing tools that tell you what products are trending and how much of a demand the product is. So utilize those tools. They're free. If you're an eBay subscriber, you get free access to TerraPeak, which is their research tool. So use those tools to find out what products you should get.
Yeah, that's a really good insight. And also these companies, all of the third-party selling companies, they do publications, they publish the data. So they do tell you what's trending. And it benefits them as much as it benefits us to read it and find the items that are currently trending. So again, just to wrap that one up, the reselling formula, you must have items that people are looking for. So they're not just sitting in your inventory for ages. Yeah. All right. So after that one, maybe we can get into proper. Okay. So after that, let's get into the pictures, right? So after that, you need professional photos. So let's say, okay, I went and I know right now it's October. I found some really cool Halloween decorations at a yard sale. I want to sell them. What's next? Well, Michelle, take it away.
Yeah, I mean, 100%, you have to have really good photos. People, they're not shopping at a store. They can't touch and feel the product. So any details you could provide is a must. Our recommendation is to have good lighting, take photos of different angles, making sure you clean the items before you take the photo. That's also very important. You don't want to turn the buyer off. And, maximize the number of photos that are in the listing. So eBay has, I believe, 12 photos. Poshmark has 16. Mercari has 14. So you have to maximize all those images as well.
Honestly, though, it's going to benefit you in the long run to maximize the photos, because when we don't maximize our photos, there's always like 10 questions that we get about the item that could have easily been answered with a photo. And keep in mind, most people will just look at your item, and they're not going to ask you questions. They're just going to find something else because it's easier for them, right? So photo speaks 1,000 words. Take a picture if you're selling clothes, the collar, the sleeves, the stitching, the brand name, the tag, the size, and the material, how to wash it even.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely take advantage of that. But another really important thing, and I think it's also I've heard many, other people who do what we're doing say that on some platforms they prefer, the third-party reselling website prefers a white background. So that's like the case on Amazon. If you guys go on Amazon or shop on Amazon, you might notice that many of actually all their products have a white background, right? So eBay, I heard, also prefers that. So something to consider is, like in this example, there's these beautiful shoes, but take away the background and just have the shoe there. And maybe even the foot's fine, the ankle's fine, but take away the background.
Yeah, I think this example is great. Some people like lifestyle shot. They want to see what it looks like on a person. So, but the priority is definitely white background. And if you have time, if you want to model, it wouldn't hurt to have a very nice looking lifestyle image as well.
Definitely. So how do you do that? It's actually really easy. You don't need any fancy equipment. You don't need to spend any money. Outside of you do need to have a smartphone, right, to be able to do this. You can, with a smartphone, you're set. If you happen to have a computer or laptop, that's even better. It'll make your life easier. But anyway, with the phone, you can find a well-lit room. So a lot of people like taking pictures in the morning. You want to be near a window maybe where the light is coming in. Open all the windows if you can. No yellow light. So don't take pictures at night where you have to turn on an indoor artificial light and then it turns yellow. Don't do that, because it will change the color, the natural color of your item. And so it's not a good idea, right? You want to take a photo to where the item looks exactly the same and you don't change the color integrity, right? Yeah. You have like a purple Starbucks mug, you take a picture with yellow light and it turns brown. Like you don't want to sell a brown mug with, that's supposed to be purple. So anyway, so professional photos, easy to do. There's a secret. There's an app called Photo Room. Is that right, Michelle?
Correct.
That automatically removes the background for you. So your pictures will look extremely professional. And so this is only available on iPhone though. That's a caveat. And you pay $30 a year so you can remove the logo on there, which it is definitely worth it. If you're going to spend money, I would spend it on that.
Yep.
Yes. All right. So we talked about finding the right items. We talked about the photo, part of the reselling formula. The photo needs to be professional. And let's talk about having proper titles, keywords, and descriptions. Those are very important.
Yeah, so again, SEO, if you have the wrong keywords, you have the best photo, you have the best product. If you have the wrong keywords, people will not find you. So it's important to use the right words and title, and also description. There are different algorithms where, certain things work better within each platform. So there are tools where you can also find keywords. If you sell on Etsy, Marmalade is a great one for keywords. So another tip that's, if you want to use something free, is you could utilize the suggested search results on eBay. You could eBay, let's say you type in coffee, and let's say you type in coffee maker, maybe the most popular keywords would pop up after that. So just do a test and see what type of words people use to search for the item.
Yeah, that's one way to definitely do it. Another really important thing is when you do type the title, the keywords are basically going to go in the title and the description of your items. Yes. And you need to kind of think outside the box or do some research. And you can go on Pinterest or you can go on a website. They have a lot of keyword websites, right? So the goal is that, like, let's say you're selling your cell phone, right? So if I have my cell phone, I want to sell it online. I don't want it anymore. It gives an advantage. You get an advantage if you can type in as many names that are used for the cell phone, because everyone calls this device something different. We may call this a cell phone, but someone else may call this a smartphone, and yet someone else may even call this a mobile phone. So in order for you to get the most exposure naturally through SEO, search engine optimization, then you need to make sure you include the words mobile, cell, and smart on your phone. And I may still be missing something that I don't know, right? So that's the idea with keywords and how that works.
Another,
go ahead, Michelle.
Sorry, another tip that you could use keywords is you could take existing sold items and use their keywords to relist your item. There's, I don't know how true this is, but there's, for us, based on our experience, taking the title of a sold item and use those words work for us. They lead to better sales. So yeah, so that's another tip.
That's a good tip. Yeah. Like if you're out of ideas, just go find something that has sold and look at what they're using.
Mm-hmm.
And the very last thing about titles, keywords, and descriptions, very, very important, is that when you describe something, you want to describe it as close to the reality of the item. If, like, basically you want to just describe it in a very simple way. So, this is a white Apple iPhone, what is it, 10 or something,
11.
right? 11, yeah. So you don't want to make up your own kind of words. You literally want to just be as literal as you can with the description. That's going to help you with the SEO.
Correct.
Yeah, so you just want to be very simple and describe the item exactly. And so we're going to tell you a quick story about how we learned a big lesson on selling old TV sets, right? So we were really stuck on the word vintage, right? Because, we enjoy older things. We don't really like antique so much, but we do like vintage, right? So vintage items are 20 years or older, but less than 100 years old. So when we were learning on one of the keyword tools, we realized that people use the word old when they're searching for TVs to buy. So people were typing in something like old TV. We had never in the 2 years of reselling, and I hope we're doing it now. Are we doing it now, Michelle? We had never used the word old in our description or titles.
Mm-hmm.
We always stuck with the word vintage. So that showed us, like, everyone's not using vintage. People are using the word old TV all the time to buy vintage TVs. And so we were missing out on the traffic there. So this is something that the keyword title and description is something you shouldn't rush through. It's something you should take your time. And, the more you do it, the better you're going to get at being able to figure out those different descriptions.
Okay.
All right. So let's move on. Okay. So that being said, if we can, Michelle, before we go to the pricing, if we could go back to the listing. So we covered finding the right items, taking professional pictures, and using the right keywords and titles and descriptions, right? So Michelle, would you say the next thing would be to consistently list and relist every day?
Yes.
Okay. So this is kind of what we started talking about today, but in a more kind of logical order, this would be the next important thing that you need to do every day.
Yeah.
The crazy part about this, and what makes doing this job so challenging, is that it needs to be done every single day. You literally cannot miss days, because if you do, you'll ruin your algorithm.
Mm-hmm.
Chances.
That's right. So even if you have, 40 items that they're ready to list, spread them out. There is a function on eBay where you could schedule your listing, which helps. If you do use cross-listing platform, Vendoo, you can always save it as a draft and then list them later, just to strategize the time you'll list your item.
Okay, so basically, let's break this down a little bit for like a new person that isn't as seasoned as maybe we are. Of course, there's people who have done this for 30 years, right? But basically, what we mean by listing is the act of like taking the picture, writing the description, and then clicking post, and it's ready to be sold. That's what we usually describe as listing. So what are we talking about? We're talking about, let's say that you went garage sailing or estate sailing and you found 10 things. And so, you're doing this part-time, you have a full-time job, but you have these 10 new things that you want to sell. So when we first started, what we would do is we would come home, we would take pictures, and we would upload those things all on the same day. And then we're like, okay, let's see who buys it. Well, that's not how you're supposed to do it. So what you should do, if you only have 10 items to sell for the week, is, like Michelle said, you should spread out your listings, meaning only publish 2 per day until you exhaust. Well, what is that? 2 per day is 14. So, do 1 a day then. And on some days, do 2 a day. So in other words, it's better you do it that way than if you miss days where you don't list at all.
Correct.
Right? Okay. So what does relisting mean, Michelle?
Relisting means when you have an item listed already and it's been listed for a while, there's no traction. It is recommended to end the listing and relist the item to help boost your listing up when people look for an item.
Yeah. So essentially what happens when you list an item, especially right now, so many people are selling things online, your item kind of gets lost, amidst a bunch of other people's items. It's not lost forever. If people still search on Google, they'll still find your item, but it may not show up on like the recently listed items, right? So that's why it's important to relist items as they start to age a little bit. Maybe if they've been sitting around for a month, then you may want to relist it during the next month. Don't just like leave it alone and not touch it, because that's not going to help you with exposure at all.
Correct.
All right. So that was listing and relisting, and we're going to get into pricing now.
Okay. You want to talk about this?
I was actually giving you the opportunity to do it.
All right. So pricing. We get this question a lot, is how do you price your item? So there are tools, again, to look for the value of your item. One is definitely go to eBay. You click on the sold item. When you do a search, let's say Nike shoes or Air Jordan, you do a search, type it in there. There's a selection that says sold, and when you click on that, it'll pop up, to show you all the sold items. So our strategy is really to be competitive, right? We don't want to be super expensive, but we don't want to be the cheapest either. And the prices fluctuate. So at times when you have a listing that's been there for a while, do check to see if your price is still competitive. In this case, we have this example where the competitor 1 is listing a pair of shoes for $90. Competitor 2 listed a pair of shoes for $98. So our price in that case would be about $95, just to be fair and competitive.
Yeah, and a lot of times these platforms allow for offers, so people may ask you like, "Hey, would you take $90?" So knowing what things are going for will allow you to make those kinds of decisions. We are recommending, though, that ahead of time you should know what your bottom is in terms of the lowest you'll take, because it can get really intimidating to not have that in mind. And then you might just like sell everything away super cheaply and not make much of a profit. You definitely don't want to do that. So for us, we generally send out offers at 10% off our listing price.
Yeah, and talking about competitive pricing, you also want to make sure you make a profit, right? So you got to make sure that you source your item at a decent price so that you can make money. You don't want to source something that is the same price as what they're selling it for. So it goes to our next topic.
Yeah. So, but if we can go back to the let's see. Yeah, they're kind of connected. So if we go back to pricing really quickly, and I think I had a different name for that one that I wanted to use. Oh, yeah. So basically what I wanted to use was good profit margins, right? As like the main name between competitive pricing and the next slide of buying low, selling high, right? The main kind of point of that is that you want good profit margins at the end of the day, right? So it's a little bit difficult to do without much experience. So what Michelle was describing is like you go on eBay and find the sold listings, and that only shows you the last 3 months. It doesn't show you past that. So, TerraPeak, which is a software program on eBay, shows you a full year of comps. Comps are the amount of money things sold for, right? The real estate industry uses comps also to talk about the value of homes in a neighborhood. And that has to do with the value, how much money the house is sold for. So so basically, if you're buying, so we're talking about buying things at a garage sale for $1 or $2 that are worth $20, $30 or more, right? But some people also like to buy items that are brand new and that are heavily discounted. So when you do that, you may want to wait a month or two before you list your items, because you're not the only one who did that. A bunch of people did that also. And then there's a lot of competition online, and everyone's prices are so low that you're making like $1 or $2 when you sell it. So Michelle actually I actually found out about that about a year ago when I started selling on Amazon. But Michelle kind of just got into that recently, and right? Remember, Michelle, when you were saying like, oh my gosh, we're not going to make money on this, it's too low. But then after those sold out, people who are like pricing the new items so low, after they sell out, then people start buying your items at higher prices because of demand. The lower price ones are gone. Right, Michelle? Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so moving on to buying low and selling high, or low cost of goods.
Yeah. So again, sometimes we get impulsive when we go shopping or sourcing, and we find an item that's really appealing. But the important thing is really to look at comps, look at how much it's worth, and look at how much people are selling it for. Take all the fees into consideration, and making sure that you are going to make a good profit before you actually commit to buying the item. So low cost of goods is a key to success for resellers.
100%. Yeah. Buy low, sell high. It's really more like buy low, sell competitively, right? Sell
Correct.
at the market going rate, maybe 10%, 5 to 10% below that. So you're super competitive in your pricing, and you get those sales.
Yeah.
So the last thing about good profit margins is having a plan. So always kind of have an idea before you go out and buy stuff, what your investment is, how much money you want to put down on your items, and then how much money do you want to make off of your items, and then what are you willing to let your item go for below your retail price, right? So for us, we used to do, I think when we go on our Poshmark app, it says that we sell things at like 50% off. But Michelle and I recently had a conversation that we need to do our research, price competitively, and the most we'll do is 10% off, right?
Yeah.
Item. So we don't lose all that profit, right? We do have a comment that I wanted to go ahead and
shout out to Jasso G. She said, yes, before I would just buy something because they look good without consideration to the comps. I have been there. I've made mistakes before.
We still do that all the time. It's hard not to sometimes.
You know what? Now it's about being strategic. It's like you got to use your head, not your heart type of thing, or not your emotions. So yes, 100%. That's important. Thanks for sharing.
Shout out to G Jasso. Thank you for the comment.
My web promos. Yay.
My web promos. How long have you been a reseller, or how long have you been reselling? To be honest though, this is, and I'm glad that you brought this up, because It's hard. Michelle and I, we do online estate sales all the time, like auctions. And you don't always know. We're learning every day on the value of items, right? And sometimes an item, like look at the Pokemon cards, right? Like 2 years ago, they were probably not worth anything at all. And now they're like ridiculously, like you can sell a Pokemon card for $500 if it's special from the 90s, right? So it's one of those things like, it's hard to constrain yourself sometimes depending on the situation. But if you have the time, always look at the comps. Always, always, always. All right. Yes. So for clarification, Jasso is actually My Web Promos on Instagram. Thanks for joining us.
All right.
On this new platform.
The next tip that we want to give is really, this has been effective for us and based on our 2-year experience, is utilize a promote listing feature on eBay, utilize the Etsy offsite ads feature. Those have been quite effective in getting more impressions and more eyes, more eyeballs on it. So on our listing. However, obviously there is a charge when you use those tools. So we recommend upcharge your selling price to make sure your profit is still comparable.
Yeah. So this is another one of those amazing things that you have to be really careful with, because we have to talk a little tiny bit about branding. So what kind of store do you want to be? Do you want to be a discount store that sells all of their items 40, 50% off all year, every day? Or do you want to be, like a more high-end store, like let's say like a Nordstrom that, they have sales, but usually they have like the half a year sale, or a couple times a year they do sales. But most of the time they don't budge by much, right? Now I'm not counting clearance items or anything like that. But what I'm trying to say is for our stores, when we do our store sales, we usually do maybe 10%. We don't do it all the time. We'll probably do it when it's slow or when there are holidays. We'll do it just like regular retail stores. Or like right now, everyone's in shopping mode, right? It's the holidays. So right now we have sales going on, like pretty competitive sales because of the time of the year. But please don't have sales going on always, because then people will assume that you're a lower price store all the time. Right. And if you were ever to remove your sales, you may lose all of your customers.
That's right.
Yes. So that's a pricing 101 tip right there. That said, Michelle has a great point about using the promoted listings feature. That's not a sale on your store. So, eBay has a special promote listing feature. Etsy has their special ad features too, where, they will spend the ad money. If someone buys the items, they will charge you. That's different. That we do have going on all year long. It's like paying for marketing, and we don't mind paying for marketing because it has brought us a lot of sales.
Yeah, for sure, 100%. All right, let's go to our last tip. Do you want to cover this?
Yeah, we could definitely both do that. So good packaging is extremely important. It's part of the reselling formula. Yes, I definitely have our story from when we first started and had no idea, honestly. So I'm going to tell my story about a book, and Michelle's going to tell you her story about a mug and a Funko Pop vinyl, which I still laugh about today. But basically, actually, before we continue, there's a comment here about the promoted listing features on eBay. So my web promo Yasso said, I only use promoted listing feature at 1%. So Michelle, do you know anything about that? What that means?
Yes. 1% is basically eBay will charge you 1% after it's been sold. So for us, I think I just have it at default. The average is about 5% that people are using. So the higher the percentage, the more exposure your listing will be. So we put it at about 7%, and it's been doing okay.
Yeah, and we don't do it on all our items. We pick and choose a few here and there. Yeah. So yeah, that's a good point there. That's on the eBay platform. So back to packaging, right? So yes, this is part of the resale formula because you do get reviews. So if you don't do a good job on packaging, the worst thing as a person buying and selling things online is that somebody orders your item, they're going to be super excited to receive it, and their item does not arrive because of bad packaging. That's like the most disappointing thing in the world. So and so I have empathy because I remember when I first started selling books on eBay, and they were like my old books, right? So somebody ordered a book. I didn't know how to ship, and I didn't look up a video either. So I took a used paper bag and I wrapped the book with it, and I thought it will be just fine. Well, it was not. So what ended up happening is that the customer was super angry because the book landed on their front porch. It was pouring rain that day, and you can only guess that that book just got shredded to pieces. Yeah. So, what a loss of a good book, honestly, and an angry customer. I got a horrible review on that, well deserved. And then Michelle, do you want to share your experience?
Yeah, you know what? It's so interesting because we do source online. And when we source online, half of the items are returns because of the poor packaging. And these are vintage items. So it's very sad that these vintage valuable items are damaged because of the poor packaging. I learned it the hard way. We used to sell these, rare collectible Funko Pops. And we had sold, I think that was when we first started reselling, we had sold 2 of them. Those were very rare, and I did not know that, but I literally shoved them in a bubble wrap, padded little envelope, and shipped them out. And the buyer was so angry, and I was so disappointed, and that would never ever happen again. After that, I bought these protective plastic boxes, to put your Funko Pop in. And then we bought boxes, especially, that's the size of the Funko Pop, to put it in. And we never made that mistake anymore.
Yeah, if you guys have any shipping fails you want to share, it's sharing time. We're happy to talk with you guys about that, empathize with you on that. That was a learning moment. And then another one was a mug. And this was also a collectible mug that we put directly in an envelope. And of course, when it arrived, it was shattered into 1 million pieces. And
it was those, Victorian little gold trimmed cups. And that was really upsetting also.
Yeah, so we did that more than once. Anyway, back to the very last part of the reselling formula is good packaging, safe packaging, and maybe like something thoughtful, a thank you note. If you can put your brand in there, make it more professional. Those little touches are always highly appreciated, and they go a long way.
Correct.
Yeah,
I think that's it. That's our reselling formula. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. So we're gonna go into our meme now.
Okay.
So, speaking of packaging, this is not the kind of packaging that we do, but this is a packaging for a product. And you see 2 bottles that are identical. The label is almost identical, except one says relax and sleep, and the other one says cold. So the meme says, whoa, that could have been a bad choice. So it's not just packaging to the client that needs to look good. When you think about packaging for a product, you have to strategically think about how to design it also. So
Michelle went into her marketing right now. I'm like, what are you talking about?
All right.
But how funny, like if you need to relax and sleep, but you accidentally grab the colon cleanser, you're not going to be relaxing and sleeping that night. That's for sure.
Yes.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you. Those of you who joined are live on YouTube. This is a new platform that we're starting on. We're very happy and excited to be doing it here. I feel like it's easier to see the slides. And we are uploading these on IGTV as well, if you want to go back and replay them there. And if you haven't already, we would appreciate if you do hit the like button, It will help us with engagement. And we're just so happy that you were able to make it this evening.
Okay. Thanks, everyone.
Yep. Have a wonderful Wednesday. We will see everyone tomorrow, Thursday, for Bolo Thursday.
All right. Good night.
Okay. Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye.